Kicking off in 3, 2. I got the numbers wrong on my fingers again. I can count on my fingers. This is serious business. God. Starting like an hour and a half late. Kick it off. 3, 2, 1. Welcome in, one and all, to the November edition of Yeah Nah, Hell Yeah, as it says on the screen. It is the first Tuesday of the month, 2nd of December, and boy howdy, there's only 1 month left in the year. But November's finished, and we're going to wrap up the roundup of what's coming out in November. And, I mean, speaking plainly, releases taper off this end of year. I got a couple honourable mentions for late releases, and then there's only going to be 5 albums in this, so this should be a quicker episode. But they're 5 good albums, if I do say so. Well, I think one's an EP. But you get the point. Let me gush about some stuff. But first, on those honourable mentions. First we got No Bull with Rock and Roll Remains Forever. This is a young guy, I want to say he's about 21, who's just die-hard, self-taught guitarist, AC/DC fan. He's got a bit of a lower, rougher voice, so you kind of get a bit of Motorhead in there. Look, Motorhead? It is a shallow pool of big riffs, alright? As described, AC/DC, Motorhead, not prog masterpieces, if we're being honest. It's always been about big energy, big riff, and, you know, if you want technicality and stuff like that, go find another fucking band. So look, 51 minutes of that does wear thin on me, personally, but I want to throw it out there because I found this through Volume Dealer, and Volume Dealer has been doing some really sick stuff. I really recommend checking out their material. And I recommend checking out this guy's episode because he is like a real grassroots guy. He's taught himself, you know, how to play guitar, how to write songs. He's putting out this, like, really awesome kind of Akadaka type stuff. I believe he was on the news for the AC/DC tour. He was getting interviewed by, like, 7 news. He's got a vest of only AC/DC patches. But he also just talks in this interview with Volume Dealer about how he's kind of bringing his own, like, he hasn't been taught how to book tours and stuff, so he's literally just ringing around pubs in rural Australia and just being like, oi, can my band come play? We sound like AC/DC. And he's carving his own path in the scene like that. So it's really interesting just to hear this young guy kind of make it on his own and, yeah, have this real grassroots approach to music and touring. Highly recommend checking out the Volume Dealer episode. And if you like what you hear, checking out the album too. The other one is Spaced, with their EP, No Escape. This, from USA, hardcore punk. Look, I will fuck with anything with a legally distinct Warhammer 40k artwork. And admittedly, I wouldn't have touched this band if they didn't have that. Yeah. But hey, good artwork. People do judge books by covers. They tell you not to. People judge books by covers. You cannot underestimate eye-catching artwork. It's good. It's 5 songs. It's 10 minutes. It's big riffs, gang vocal hooks. You know, all the good shit that hardcore has. Boy howdy, I would love for an Australian web store to stock their merch because I want the album art designed for this shirt, for this band album EP. I want the album art T-shirt for this EP, and the only place I can get it is on their US record store. And it would be $86 after shipping. So that's a big no from me. But if I could get it locally, I would. It did make me think, because like I see stuff like this, I see like what No Cure does with all their merchandising. There is still Warhammer-themed heavy music coming out. Bands that aren't Warhammer-themed doing Warhammer-themed merch or album covers and stuff. And Warhammer and heavy music is just so intrinsically linked that I reckon if you had the right person doing it, you could bring back Warhammer Records and do it right this time. And if you're like, Warhammer Records? What's that? I highly recommend. I believe Arbiter Ian on YouTube did a video on it recently. Let me see if I can look this up. I know, Squidmar Miniature, did a video recently. And yes, Warhammer used to have, Games Workshop used to have their own record label. Go check out that video if you want to learn more about it. It was cool. It didn't work out because people who make and sell miniatures don't know jack shit about running a record label. Whatever. Anyway, it's a good EP. I recommend checking it out. And if you love me and you want to get me something awesome, I would love the artwork for this on the t-shirt design. It's so cool. Moving on into the actual month of November. On the 7th of November, we have AmaLee with the album Nostalgia 8. Now, AmaLee is I believe they made this art, I want to say, on YouTube. Social media, anyway. And her gimmick is that she takes anime songs, OPs, opening songs, ending songs, whatever, and does English covers of them and kind of, I guess, translates, and then obviously you can't do a direct translation, you have to rewrite the lyrics a little bit to fit the melody of the song. So doing these covers of anime openings and endings and other songs, and translating them and I guess localizing them into English. From the songs that I do know, especially on past releases, I find them to be pretty faithful renditions, and when you look up direct translations of the lyrics, it's faithfully transformed into English. This album, doesn't really have anything I'm familiar with. God, I watched Mobile Suit Gundam, and there's a lot of Gundam on this when I was like 13, and I just do not recognize any of the music from it. There's even an Evangelion one, Beautiful World, and like, it's just such a B-side in terms of Evangelion soundtrack that, yeah, it glossed over me a few times before I even clicked that it was Evangelion. But despite that, and ironically, because this album is called Nostalgia and I have no nostalgia for this track, I think it slaps. They stand as their own, divorced from the context. She's just a really strong vocalist and she's not composing the songs, but she is kind of rewriting them and covering them. And I know, especially recently, I have taken the piss out of bands for putting this phrasing in the bios, but she truly has soaring vocals. Don't crucify me on my own cross. And I mean that in the sense, like, genuinely, you hear her kind of hit these ascending high notes, and you're like, yeah, this is, like, I could bird's eye view imagine myself flying across the city to this. It is actually soaring. It's not a throwaway phrase here. So, if you're an anime fan, if you like English covers of, Japanese songs, I highly recommend checking out AmaLee. This is a good album to come into. This Beautiful World cover is good, but sorry, I'm getting my words wrong. This Everlasting cover is good. There's Invoke from Mobile Suit Gundam Seed. I really like that. Lion from Across Frontier. Genesis Aquarium from Genesis Aquarium. Some really strong standout tracks on this that I think just stand up as their own songs. And as, I guess, a real endorsement of me for how much I promote this, I used her cover of Sakura Kiss from Uran High School Host Club for the entrance to the reception at my wedding. So that's what we came into the reception hall to. So I'm a fan of AmaLee. It gets a thumbs up from me, and Nostalgia 8 gets a hell yeah from me. Moving on and getting a lot heavier. Sorry to harsh the vibe for anyone who's enjoying the song. If you're watching live, if you're watching the recording, we're listening to the first track. Go check it out. But now we're changing over to Ironstone, A Shadow of My Former Self. And boy howdy, didn't this used to be a prog band? I quite remember the last time I saw these guys, and it was many years ago now. They were a very run-of-the-mill, modern, genty prog band. a drop in an ocean. And not a bad drop, but the problem with that scene, especially over the last few years, is like being an 8 out of 10 in a scene that has so many 10 out of 10s that most of them don't even see international acclaim. Boy howdy, it's kind of like, I hope you're getting fun out of playing the music, because you're not getting a career out of it. But pivoting into a progressive deathcore sound and being really good at it, that's marketable. Highly, highly frothing the modern Ironstone and how they've managed to transform themselves. And boy howdy, they offer up a feast as well, calling this an EP, despite it clocking in 31 minutes. That's where you start getting on that kind of, is it a short album, is it a long EP? But 7 tracks, 6 actual songs, 1 intro. The intro track flows really well into the first song. I love that. I've complained recently about bands not doing that. I will say it's got a weird split where, like, it's got the intro strings and then the riff comes up, and normally that's where you do the split. But the split's actually like 10 seconds beforehand, so you get a short amount of strings and then it goes into the riff on the actual song track. Bit weird, but hey, I'm not judging. The strings throughout the entire album, really cool. The use of like these cool string sections and the keys and some of the like real shrieky high-pitched screams. I would probably sell this to people if I'm trying to like get a touch point, a cultural touchstone that you can leap off into this music. I would call this deathcore Cradle of Filth. And I've said good and bad things about Cradle of Filth in the past. I mean, this is a good thing. I think this is a really, like, if you like Cradle of Filth and you're into more modern deathcore sound, I think you'll find a lot to love in Ironstone. It's not all good news for me. I found some of the lyrics, song titles, and even the EP title to be a bit immature. And when I read the actual lyrics for each song, they're not. They've got some really well put together verses, so it seems to be a choice. Like, it's a matter of presentation, not a matter of ability to write in depth. But I think if you're trying to be dark and evil and mysterious, a good litmus test is, would the South Park Goths write this in their diary? And I'm just going to rattle off some of these song titles here. Moments lost in time. Death so grim. Now you're broken. A shadow of my former self. The innocent blade. Pretty cringe. Sorry. I'm ripping the band-aid off there. And the reason I said that, like, once you go into it is, if we look at The Innocent Bleed, and we have a look at the lyrics, we can see the lyric where they've got the song title from, and it's, you made the innocent bleed, it should have been me, it should have been me, malicious intent, an odious deed, it should have been me, you should have killed me. The innocent bleed is probably the weakest line there. If you called this song an odious deed, that would slap. That'd go hard. I'd be like, an odious... Like, that's like... most people would have to fucking look up what odious means, but it's a cool title, it's memorable, it's... You know, it seems mature. Whereas The Innocent Bleed, again, like I said, a teenage goth kid would write that in their diary. So that is my negative point. Everything besides that is positives. The composition is leagues ahead of not only their peers, but also every other aspect of the recording. The album art, it's really cool. I wouldn't say it's particularly memorable, but when I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And it fits the vibe of the album, that's for sure. The prog elements keep it really interesting. And it's integrated really well in a sense that the whole EP flows amazingly. I think in the past I've said that To The Grave is probably the most interesting Aussie deathcore band right now. I think I'm knocking them down to number 2. I think Ironstone, with this release, is probably the most interesting thing in Australian deathcore right now. Really awesome to have these guys in our own backyard, and I can't wait to see how they continue to innovate and grow from here. But I think they are on the money with this pivot to this progressive deathcore sound. They've really matured into it. Yeah, big ups. Obviously, it's a hell yeah. Can't froth that enough. Get around them. Get around them. They are small, young, and local at this point. This is a great place to get on the ground floor of a band that could be huge one day. Moving on, and out of our backyard, we have Drain, and their album Is Your Friend. I always find it funny when bands do that thing where it's just like, you have to read them together to have a sentence, and if you just read the album title, it doesn't make sense on its own. Who did that a lot? Was it the Dwarves? Would do that on all their album titles? I feel like they did. Not to get too distracted from Drain, but I am looking up the Dwarves. Yeah, you'd have like, the Dwarves are young and good looking, the Dwarves come clean, the Dwarves must die, the Dwarves are born again, the Dwarves invented rock and roll. Yeah, it's a funny gimmick. You know, I don't hate it. I just think it's a bit odd. Anyway, Drain Is Your Friend, Santa Cruz, California, hardcore, baby. And not just hardcore, but very crossover thrash reminiscent. To the point of, like, it reminds me of... I had to go back and listen to a few crossover bands, because it just feels so close to one of them in my head, but I can't pinpoint who it is. I thought maybe it was Dr. Living Dead. Definitely sounds like Party Vibes in the Melbourne scene, but obviously it's definitely not any relation to Party Vibes. It wasn't any relation to Dr. Living Dead, but yeah, I guess it's just matching it. I think it's the vocal style that is what's doing it for me, and really compares that crossover. And I'm really drawn to it. It's a little bit crossover thrash, but it's also got that, like, obituary-styled scream that doesn't really have any mic cupping to it, and that, you know, got really popular in the hardcore scene as well. It's just got a lot of fry on it, like, just put the fries in the mic, bro. Hell yeah. On my first listen, I was really into, like, the riff, and I'm like, yeah, this is fast-paced, it's heavy. I was enjoying it a lot. I didn't connect with any of the songs, and I didn't really catch the lyrics in the songs until, like, the last couple of songs. But repeat listens have brought me a lot closer to it. Lyrically, it reminds me of a lot of, like, peak suicidal tendencies, early suicidal tendencies, which is probably very high praise in their scene. I feel like a lot of those crossover thrash revival, suicidal tendency ripoffs don't get the depth of the lyrics right. When you go listen to old school suicidal, the lyrics they're pretty deep and serious. They're not lighthearted a lot of the time. And this does the same thing of being, like, deep in a really kind of real life type of way. Songs like, you know, Scared of Everything and Nothing, where it's very, I guess, personal, in the sense that it's a mental fatigue war that I think a lot of people in their demographic, which would be, like, kind of my age, the aging hardcore scene, would be getting into. Where, yeah, the old fears start to slowly fade away, but there's always something new to take its place. Like, there's just that constant stress of life. And yeah, I think I've highlighted that in a lot of music I've been listening to recently, with other bands as well, like, you know, Seth's Entry, and I think I brought up in Hilltop Hoods as well. It's when you start hitting that Sisyphus age of your life of, like, oh, you realize the greatest struggle is actually the shit you have to deal with every single day. And I think they really captured that. But they also have super positive messages, like Nothing But Love, which is frankly a bold topic to be covering, that, you know, if we all come together and rise together, that's a good thing. And considering most music scenes are just copious amounts of tall poppy syndrome, it's a real buck the trend to say, hey, someone else getting a leg up isn't you getting a leg down. And yeah, even just shit like Loudest in the Room, lyrics about empty cans rattling the most. We've all met someone like that. I just found on repeat listens, the more I listen to this, the more I relate to every song. And I'm like, oh yeah, so I think I'm probably 3 or 4 listens deep now. And yeah, I'm still finding stuff that makes me go, oh, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I feel that. And hey, you build that connection, and by the end of it, once you're feeling really connected with all of these lyrics, you might think to yourself, Drain is my friend. Hey! Obviously, it gets a hell yeah from me. This is one I'm keen to just keep on listening to until I've really gotten the most out of everything, because I feel like I'm just, soaking up more and more each listen. The album covers this cute little shark boy, and I'm coming in for bite, and I'm still getting more and more to chomp on. Now, moving on to something that is kind of similar, in a way, because this is a band that I've also, in the past, really found myself relating to lyrically. But I found there was an issue in that when you build a very close personal connection with a band and you agree with all their lyrics and they're kind of growing alongside you, at some point their life can change and they're going to go on a different trajectory and you will go on your own path. And suddenly this band that used to mean the world to you and used to just sing every thought you've ever had is singing about stuff that doesn't affect you. And Smith Street Band was a big one. It's a guy who's from an area that I'm near, singing songs about what it was like growing up with a really similar childhood to mine. And is a little bit older, so every time they release something, I'm just kind of coming into that phase of life, and it's created a long history of just constantly being like, yeah, I really relate to this. But now the frontman of the band, Will Wagner, he's got a kid, and that's not something I'm coming into. So he's starting to have these, I guess more parenting concerns come through his songs. That I don't relate to, and I'm like, oh shit, oh man, we're not really aligned anymore. Musically, it's got all the hallmarks of a typical Smith Street album at this point. There are a fair few records deep in their discography. I wouldn't say there's any surprises musically. There's nothing that goes particularly heavy or does something they haven't done before. And there's definitely still points of connecting where I'm like, yeah, we still kind of think the same. It's very parasocial to connect to something like this. And yeah, I'll admit, I've got a parasocial connection, and now they're changing, and I'm not. I'm like, oh, shit. Do I still like this? And I do. I do still like this. I just don't relate to it. And it's funny that, their best music, and I feel most of their fan base would agree, was when they were suffering, when Will was suffering more. And he's admitted that before. I think it was on their last album tour. He made a joke on stage, something along the lines of, we're going to play some new songs, sorry they're not as good, I haven't had any tragic breakups recently. And everyone laughed, but there was a bit of a joke behind that. And now that, he's got a family, I believe he's married now, he's got a house out in the country, he kind of won. We got the good ending. So why are the fans disappointed? That's a real bizarre point that I just can't escape when I'm listening to this. It's if suffering brings good art, why do I want my favorite artist to suffer? It's a bit fucked up. Still, taking a step back, trying to think of this album objectively, not subjectively, it is weaker. Like I said, there's nothing new musically in it. Some of the lyrics are objectively dog shit. And some of them aren't. And the ones that are dog shit are all kind of in the single song where I feel like they're kind of doing it deliberately, maybe tongue-in-cheek, but it's still shit, and I'm still like, oh, that's... I think it's like standing taller than a very tall building, and then in the next verse it's like feeling cool, like a cool movie, and I'm like, bro, what? Like, I know you got a kid, did your kid write that? Because it seems like a child wrote that. It's really bad compared to your, like 4 or 5 albums of material before that. Like, good lord, did you hit your head writing that one? So, I do still love it. They're still one of my favorite bands. It gets a hell yeah. But really, the Smith Street Band, on any day, should be getting my album of the month. And they didn't. I actually changed that at the start of the stream. I had it there, and I had to honestly say to myself, no, you're giving that to them because of your history with the band, not because it's a good album. Because it is just a good album. It's not a great album. And they can do great, they can do fantastic, they can probably do perfect albums. They can do better than good. Moving on, the last one for the month. That's crazy. Paledusk with their debut album. Which, the fact that this is their debut as well is another crazy thing. Because, I don't know, it feels like they've just been around. Let me just quickly search their history. They must surely have some EPs under their belt. Thank you, J-Pop Wiki. Alright, they've got 5 EPs under their belt already, so, This is their first album, though. They're taking that desecrator path where, your first album comes very far into your career. 11 years into your career. And I guess it's kind of hard for a band like this to write an album because they are so eccentric and eclectic. Because they've got that real, like, genre skippy metalcore, which I love. I unironically really enjoyed I Wrestled a Bear once growing up, and they've been teasing a reunion, so when I hear this like really frantic metalcore that just skips in and out of genres, but does it without feeling, I guess, like clunky, it still has a design to it. Like it's a slightly slow-paced Dillinger Escape Plan that you can sing along to. That's probably how I describe it. And because of that, it's very hard to review. Yeah, I've written theirs progressive metalcore is probably the best way. Some people might call it avant-garde. It's hard to pin down, that's for sure. But the important things are still there. The songs are well structured, well recorded, and the energy is the most consistent thread. It's very fun. Especially on a studio recording, not a live recording. It can be hard to... Fun is a hard energy to transfer in a studio recording, but there's just this, I guess, uptick to the singer's vocals that just makes it feel like you can really hear the smile that he has recording this, and creates a lot of positivity to shine through. And the lyrics help, obviously there's some in Japanese, but the chorus line of, the first song, I love you baby, and it just says it with this real ascending tone to it. And yeah, I think because of that, it creates a really positive listening to experience. It's probably not one I can go back to easily, because this thing changes so much. I find it really hard to just pin down, listen to, kind of tap my foot along to, build familiarity with. That's the problem. I find it hard to build familiarity with, but I still think it's really cool. This would probably be a festival must-see. They do have a headline show, a one-off headline show coming up in Melbourne. I might go see it, especially with all the cancellations today by Destroyer Lines. I'm sure there's a lot of refunded ticket money kicking around. If you know, you know. If not, whew. 2nd of December 2025. Bad day for the Australian music scene, that's for sure. But I think that Paledusk show would go off if it's got half the fun energy that this album has. Then I think it'd be an absolute blast. If not, I would definitely go see this at a festival, because this is outside, drinking hand, mates around, strangers around, big crowd, fun, 2 p.m. SWAT energy. It's a hell yeah from me. And as I said, there's only 5 releases this month, because we are getting to the very shallow end of the pool. Now that we're in December, I don't even know if we'll get any for December, but hey, when we do the December roundup, we'll also just do the full year roundup, so stay tuned for that next month. Album of the month. Like I said, I wanted to get the Smith Street Band, but that's more based on my history with them, not the quality of the album. Ironstone, very much impressed, but I think it's just the connection that I've been building with this Drain album. The more and more I listen to, really won it out, and it was literally just before I went live that I changed this. So, nothing is ever set in stone, or Ironstone. And I think that's the beauty of music, is that, even looking back at the earlier of the year, it's like some of the stuff I haven't touched. I forgot Dream Theater put out an album this year, so, what you love one month, what you love one day, what you love 1 hour might change the next. Isn't that great? But that's what I listened to. Just scrolling back up through the comments here on the live stream. Games Workshop will license anything. This is a fact. Boy, howdy, will they? You like Beautiful... Hey, if you like Beautiful World from Evangelion, more power to you. It's no Consusatod, however you pronounce that. I don't speak German. The Ironstone album art, very vibey. Hell yeah. Man, high praise. Yep, I've got a lot of love for Ironstone after this. And then Dre, that shit gets me through. Last track rules. Take care of yourself. Keep your head up high. Give your love to all your friends while there's still some time. Exactly, man. That shit is just yeah. Especially this time of year when, you're thinking a lot about your friends and family coming into Christmas time. It's nice to have some positive energy like that. Aussie Paledusk lead singer is the funniest lead singer I've ever met. Awesome. I'm glad. It seems like it. They're fun live set. Hopefully their guitarist can get in the country. Oh, did he have visa issues or something? And the Paledusk show is only $55. I'm going to check my calendar to make sure there's no clashes. But boy howdy, that seems like a done deal at $55 for any international now. Even the Good Things Sound side shows are all priced at $80 each, and their flights were already covered. AJ didn't do that to us. Back in 2022, when they opened for Alpha Wolf, alright. And I think Baby No Money was talking about that with albums. He likes doing singles, as he has trouble creating a thread, theme, concept, enough songs for an album. I don't believe that he has trouble creating enough songs for an album. That dude puts out material it's nothing. But yeah, narratively theming an album, that is certainly a project within itself. And then just constructing the album, song listing and stuff, that's a whole art in itself. But yeah, that was November. Let us know in chat or in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. What was your top releases for November? If you've got anything coming up in December you're excited for. And I won't ask what your best album was. There's still 1 more month. And then we'll cover off best of the years. But thank you for watching. This has been hell yeah. I've been Regan. And have a lovely month ahead. And listen to some great music. Peace. And